last segment, we were talking about the most powerful piece, which is the queen. And now we are talking about the most important piece, which is the king, because king is the game. If you checkmate the king, that's it, that's the end of the game. So Yusuf, can you tell us, how do kings move?
Kings move diagonally, but it can be only one square. It can be up, down, across, or diagonally, but it can only be one square you move it to. It can't be like the queen to move 6 squares and the king can only move 1 square.
That's right. So a piece like the queen can move any number of squares, but when it comes to the king, it can only move by 1 square. Now let's say the king is right here in the middle of the board. Where are all the places where this king can go to?
It can go diagonally up, it can go diagonally down, it can go side to side, and up and down.
Well, that means that from this particular position, this king would have a number of squares that it can go to. The total of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This king can go to any one of those squares, but only 1 square at a time. And how do kings capture?
Kings capture if, for example, there was a pawn in front of it, you could just take it like this. But if there's a king defending it, you can't take it, because if you take it, that's not possible, because the kings can't face each other, both in front of each other.
In front of each other. That was excellent, Yusuf. Now, what happens if there is a pawn right here? Would it be possible for this king to come forward and attack that pawn?
No, because the pawn is heading this way down to advance and get another piece, like a queen or something. So you can't put a piece in front of it. You can't put the king, because it'll be check and an illegal move.
Yes,
so you can't put it in front of the pawn.
That would be indeed an illegal move. As you know, pawns move forward, but they take diagonally. And putting the king here would put it in the harm's way, because as you can see, this pawn will be able to take the king. So this indeed is an illegal move. This is the move that cannot be made according to the rules of chess. How about this move? Can you simply go here and attack this pawn?
Yeah, because the pawn isn't attacking the king, because it's in front of it. And it will stop the pawn of advancing forward, because the king's in the way.
And there is a special move that only kings and rooks can make, and it's called castling. Now this is how the castling looks like. So to be able to castle, you need a king, you need a rook, and nothing in between. Now Yusuf, can you tell us how the move looks like?
There is a long distance castling. There's a short one, which is the most popular one.
The most popular one, yes. Well, when you look at the board at the beginning of the game, or at the end of the game, really at any stage of the game, this part of the board, this half of the board is called the queen side, and this half of the board is called the king side. Now, this king can castle queen side or king side, provided that there are no pieces in between, and that the rook or the rooks or the king has not moved before. So can you demonstrate the move for us? How does it look like to castle?
So a long castle is on the queen side. You put 2 squares next to it, and you put the rook next to the king. And on the other side to castle, you just do 2 squares, and the rook just goes around the king.
That's right. So, just to recap, to castle queen side, you go 2 squares to the left, and then you move the rook across next to the king. This would be queen side castling. And to perform the king side castling, you move your king 2 squares to the right, and then you put the rook across. By the way, this is the only move in chess that is done with two pieces at the same time. The one and the only. And the purpose of this move, why is it that we do castling at all? What's the purpose of it?
To keep your king safe and in a good position.
Very good.
And it would just be kind of boring just having the king wandering around instead of...
Now that would be very boring. But it can also be dangerous for the king if there are lots of the opponent's pieces around to wander around the king, because if the king is checkmated, that's the end of the game. So in order to keep your king safe at the beginning of the game, you're sort of trying to castle as soon as possible, because the king, once castled, is a lot safer than when it's stuck in the middle of the board. Now let's put a couple of pieces on the board. Let's put the black rook here. And you already know that rooks move in a straight line, which means that this rook is controlling all of those squares. With white to move, would it be possible for white to castle or not?
It wouldn't be, because the rook is stopping us, the king, to castle, and it's controlling this file, and the king can't castle. So you can castle this way, but you can't castle that way because the rook is blocking it.
Because of the rook, that's right. So it is not possible for the king to jump over the square that is controlled by the opponent. That's why it would not be possible to castle this way, but white can still castle queenside. Now let's put another piece here. Let's put the bishop and remove the rook. Can white castle kingside?
Yes, it can.
Can white castle queenside?
Yes, it can.
Yes, well, in this particular case, even though this rook is attacking the bishop, and in this case controlling the square b1, it would still be possible for the king to castle, because the king is not going over any of the squares controlled by the bishop. So white would have a choice of castling kingside, and white would also have the choice of castling queenside. Now, let's suppose that we have a position like this. Well, let's put another piece of the board, this rook over there. And the pawn in front of it. And the black king right there. Now, let's say white plays a move, then black plays a move, then white plays a move, black plays a move. And now white castles. Would that be possible?
No, because the king has already moved a square, so you can't castle and come back in the same position.
That's right. If you move your king, you have lost the right to castle in that particular game. So it's only possible to castle if your king has never moved before. What if white plays this move? And after black plays the move, the rook goes back, bishop goes to this square. Would it be possible for white to castle?
No, because the rook has already moved.
What about castling on this side?
Yes, because none of the pieces... Wait.
That's right, yes.
None of the pieces have moved from that certain place, so it could be possible to castle here.
Yes. So in this particular position, white can definitely castle queenside because the king hasn't moved and the rook hasn't moved. But white has lost the right to castle kingside because this rook has moved. Even though it came back to the square where it came from, because this rook has made a move, it is no longer possible to castle kingside. And as we mentioned, the main reason why is it that you do this move is to put your king into a safe spot, into a safe place. A king is a lot safer once it castles compared to being stuck in the middle of the board. And there is another reason why it's very good to castle, and that is to bring the rook into the game. Because when this rook is surrounded by pawns and other pieces, this rook doesn't have much of an activity. But once you castle, if you can bring that rook on an open file, that rook will be a lot better than when there are pawns around it. And this is how the king moves.